at this point, we are in the future where some humans live on the moon and some remained here on Earth. Welcome back to a new book review. Today we are going to be talking about the book Cinder, the first book in the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. Now, as you may know, I have already talked about Scarlet, the second book. So why would I be talking about the first book if I've already read the second book? Well, the second book caught my eye both because of the name of the book and because it's a very colorful book. So I decided to get it and forget the others, which I normally don't do, and it was only because this one was the one that caught my eye, so that's why I went straight to this one. But I ended up really liking the story of Scarlet, so I ended up getting the rest of them. I just finished Cinder, and I will say that I am certainly glad I decided to pick up the rest of these books because I really enjoyed it, and I'm really starting to like Marissa's writing in these books because she does a very good job. Now, before we get into this, there are going to be spoilers for Cinder. So if you don't want this book spoiled for you, I suggest listening to the audiobook or reading it for yourself before you continue with this review/discussion. Now, with the people that don't want spoilers, go on, let's get into this. Now, Cinder centers around this girl named Cinder, a cyborg living in New Beijing, and she is a mechanic, and a well-renowned mechanic at that. She is very good at what she does, and that is because she is a cyborg, and a lot of people in her neighborhood are well aware of this fact, because she has both a cybernetic hand and one of her legs is cybernetic. And Cinder kind of hates this about herself because it kind of makes her an outcast, and she goes, "You know, I didn't ask to be in this accident that nearly killed me. I didn't ask to be turned into a cyborg. I don't know why I'm being treated like this." And I feel like, in a way, Marissa kind of used Cinder being a cyborg as like a way to talk about like racism and how people like that hate someone because they look different or act different or have a different culture. But she's very looked down upon, and people are scared of her because she is a cyborg, even though that's not her fault. So Cinder is very loosely inspired by Cinderella, and it's because like she has this horrible stepmother who doesn't do anything for herself around the house and wants Cinder to do everything. Like, she's the main money maker in the house. She cleans the house, she does all the stuff. And her stepmom just sits on her privileged ass and does nothing, while complaining that she doesn't have enough money, when she could very well have a job. There's nothing stopping her from working, but she does nothing and lets Cinder do all the work. So Cinder is very much like, I have to get out of here. I'm tired of living here. I'm tired of dealing with the way everybody treats me just because I'm different than them. I just want things to be different. I want to be in a place where I can be treated as I'm not a cyborg. So one day she's working at her shop. The day is normal when this man comes up, and it ends up being none other than the prince of New Beijing and all of that area, and he needs a droid fixed. Well, she accepts the job, and after he leaves, it turns out that there was a breakout of a sickness called Lumos, something like that. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but it's this sickness that comes on really fast once you are exposed to it. It leaves these bruise-like rashes on everyone, and the final stage of Lumos is death. And as far as everybody knows, there is no cure. So the market ends up getting shut down, and Cinder sneaks her way home because if you're found to have Lumos, you are automatically quarantined because it is such a contagion. So there are those issues proceeding in her world, as well as people being afraid of her because she's a cyborg, and her trying to face that, the sickness, and her crazy psycho stepmother. Now, Cinder isn't totally alone because one of her sisters, she has two stepsisters, Peony, the youngest, actually enjoys Cinder's company and treats her as a human despite her being a cyborg. And she also has a droid companion who is always by her side. Aiko, I think her name is said. I'm not sure, but that's how I said it in my head. That rhymed. Anyway, so Cinder is very much like, I want to get out of here. I'm tired of being the one that does everything and gets nothing for it. She's treating me like a slave and a pest, and she hates me, and she blames me for the death of her husband when I had nothing to do with it. And all the while Cinder is dealing with all that, Kai, the prince that she met and is fixing the droid of, has to deal with this entitled queen from the moon. Because at this point, we are in the future where some humans live on the moon and some remained here on Earth. So the humans that live on the moon are called Lunars, and we, the humans on Earth, are called Earthians. So there is a brewing war between the Earth and the moon because the moon princess, or queen, wants to take over Earth as well because she's not happy with just ruling one planet. She wants to rule them all. So Kai has to deal with, like, the diplomatic situation between them and try to figure that out. But it comes to light through trying to find a cure for this disease that Cinder's immune because her crazy stepmother forced her into volunteering for the Lumos vaccination test because she was cybernetic. And so it becomes to light that Cinder is one of these Lunars and originally resided on the moon. So the queen, having been fed up with not getting an answer from the emperor who died because of this disease, ends up coming to Earth. And she's like, okay, you need to marry me or we're gonna have a war. If you don't marry me, this peace treaty will not go through and I will kill everyone on Earth. And when I say she's psychotic, I mean it, because for some reason, she's afraid of mirrors. And the whole time you're sitting there wondering, like, why would she be afraid of mirrors? What does she have to be afraid of? Is she that repulsed by her own reflection? Or, like, what is happening? It turns out that Lunars have the ability to manipulate people's minds and cast illusions. And if you look into a mirror at a Lunar that is glamoring themselves, the glamour is not affected by electronics or the mirrors. So the queen is very much against any mirrors being in the castle. And that's because her true self is ugly on the outside just as much as the inside. And the queen doesn't want people to know that. She's power hungry, she's evil. She will do anything to get her way, no matter who she has to hurt in the process. And there's also a double reason why these vaccinations are being done on mostly cybernetic humans. And that's because we find out the Grand Doctor that is working on this vaccine is also a Lunar. And he was using this vaccination testing to find the true princess to the lunar throne. Because Queenie isn't the rightful heir. She took it by force. And, like, it just becomes this interconnected story, and I love how she puts it together. And I want to apologize for Kai, because while I was reading Scarlet, I did not care about his side of the story whatsoever. I thought he was a whiny pushover king who didn't know what he was doing and was just like, I didn't care about his side of the story. I thought it was boring and he was whiny. But, like, reading Cinder, I feel bad for thinking that about him in Scarlet, because he genuinely is a good person and he's genuinely trying to help the people that he is the king of and the leader of. He just doesn't know how to go about it because his enemies have powers that he has no idea how to stop. So, all in all, I think this was a great book. It was probably an 8 or a 9 out of 10 for me. I cannot wait to go into Crest, because now that I have Scarlet and Cinder read, I'm going to finish reading the last two in order, sort of. This has been a weird thing for me, but I'm really enjoying Marissa's writing. I really enjoy these characters so far. They don't feel like real, but they're enjoyable to read, and I want to see them succeed. Crest, I'm betting, is the one that Cinder talks to when she gets the chip from the prince's droid that was making the droid malfunction. She used the chip to connect back to the one that had put it in the droid. I think Crest is that girl, but we'll see, because Crest kind of fits the description given in Cinder. And then Winter, we know, is the queen's stepdaughter, I believe. So I'm excited to see where the rest of the story goes. I'm excited to see where it goes with Kai and Cinder and Wolf and Scarlet. I know his name is not really Wolf, but he was called Wolf through most of the book, so that's what he's going to stay being called for me, because I'm not used to his other name yet. But so far so good, and that's what I'm reading. Hope you guys enjoyed.